All right. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Thank you very much.
Good.
You're the
Welcome to my kitchen.
Yes, you're the second guest I've had on that's done the show from their kitchen, and
Oh, well, I bet I'm the only one that bakes without sugar.
I was intrigued by your story and also intrigued about baking without sugar because I've never done
hmm
it before. So, if you don't mind, if you could just tell us your story and how you got to this point.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you the short, brief story. So, health policy wonk, lawyer by trade. I've authored 7 books, and I never thought a cookbook was going to be on my plate until I got sick on my 46th birthday in August, a year ago in August. Ended up in the emergency room for about 3 weeks. I thought I had the flu. Finally, my husband said enough is enough. He dragged me to the emergency room where I fought every tooth and nail to actually go in. And after we went in, we found out my blood pressure was almost 220 over 185, which is like outrageous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. And then after a lot of different tests, I think when women hit their 40s, there's a lot of like gallbladder issues. They thought maybe it was my gallbladder was acting up, but instead it came back that I had a very high level of glucose in my blood and then it spilled over into my urine. So my glucose at the time was 300, which is maxed out in the glucose measurement, and then 300 spilled into the urine. So I was batting about 600, and you should be batting about 100. So I was inches away from a stroke. So they diagnosed me as severely diabetic. It was the first time that anybody used the D word um, with me before. I had no idea that I was diabetic, and at that point, severely diabetic. So basically, they told me to go home and eat lean meats and salads the rest of my life. I was prescribed no medicine at the time. Went home. It was Labor Day weekend. My husband and I didn't know what to do. I woke up the next morning after being in the emergency room that night. I woke up and I looked at my phone and I couldn't see my phone. And then we always turn on the headlines on the news, and I couldn't see the TV. And I kind of got frustrated with him and said, now I have to go get a new phone. We have to go get a new TV. And he said, what are you talking about? Your phone is just fine. The TV is just fine. And I said, well, I can't see anything. And no one ever told me that when your blood sugar starts to come down, that your vision's going to go. And as a lawyer, you can about imagine the scariness of not being able to see my computer screen.
Oh, yeah.
My eyesight was gone for about 3 to 4 weeks, where it was a complete blur as the blood sugar lowered. And thankfully, I had great doctors that came into my rescue and care. And I went on medicine. So I never went on insulin, but I went on the popular metformin drug from August to December. I was on metformin. But I told my doctor I wasn't going on insulin. I was going to change my lifestyle completely. And he kind of joked and said, yeah, good luck to you. I'll see you in 30 days. And we're going to end up being the exact spot where we're at. Instead, I told him, no. I definitely, I'm going to follow your take and really push it and I'm a perfectionist. So I'm really going to be able to do this. So basically, I shed 60 pounds over the year. I've eliminated all medicines that are diabetic related, stayed off of insulin. And for the first couple of months, I'll be honest with you, I hated the kitchen again. Before I got sick, I loved to throw a party. I love to entertain. I love to bake. I love to be kind of that awesome party thrower that everybody was like oohed and awed about. But I got mad. Douglas, I was mad. I was bitter. I was upset. I always felt guilty. So instead, I basically tossed everything in my kitchen away. Then January came around. And in January, I made my very first recipe, which I gave to my parents. They told me that they started to cry when I brought it over to their house because they're like, we've been waiting for this day since you got sick that you wanted to go back into the kitchen. And so I put myself back in the kitchen, and then I started posting pictures of all these little creations I was making without any sugar. So I basically eliminated all sugar. I eliminated all fruits. I eliminated all root vegetables. I eliminated flour from my diet. And I eat less than 20 carbs a day. And that's what kept my vision back to 2020. Within 30 days, my vision was back to 2020. My A1C dropped from the highest point you could possibly have to a normal level of 5 or 6 between the two, usually every 90 days. And then my daughter during quarantine said, I think you should start posting these pictures of these these desserts you're making and stuff. I kind of laughed it off thinking this is no way. Well, I did what she said. I started a blog on April 18th, the day after our goddaughter was born. And now we're almost celebrating 1 year. And guess what? We already have over 90,000 followers. I get about 40,000 people tune in every Saturday to watch my little video of my baking experiments. And I also go find some garage sale gems at the same time. And every day I hear from, I guess blog readers and viewers like myself. They're saying, hey, look, I was just diagnosed with diabetes. I love your story. I want to be able to do what you did. How did you do it? And then I answer that, I answer everybody back because I think I'm the real authentic, real life deal. I'm no skinny fitness model who's telling you never to eat sugar again. I'm basically saying sugar in my life definitely is a poison. And so I've tried to figure out how to bake, great things. Like today I made for you, I wish you were here because you could smell them. I made a peanut butter, which is a real peanut butter, not peanut butter out of a jar, just peanuts, butter, and brown sugar substitute. I made these chocolate peanut butter bars that are absolutely fantastic. And I would bet you $1 you could not tell if there's no sugar in them at all.
I probably couldn't. They look delicious, and I would love to try them. What I did want to ask you was that prior to your emergency room situation, what was your lifestyle like? I mean, you said you lost 60 pounds, so presumably you were overweight. Were you eating really poorly? I mean,
no, I would never say that I ate poorly. I would say I didn't work out. I know now that my doctor told me when I got sick that I had to work out at least 5 days a week for like 25 minutes a day, which ended up being walking at the time that I lost the weight. And now I do low impact aerobics. I walk and I bike, try to mix it up every single day. If I don't do something, my blood sugar goes higher. So I definitely have to have that element into the equation. But I would say that, and I was in the emergency room, this is what the physician asked me. And my husband had to call my parents to ask this question. She asked, your parents diabetic? Which I said, no. And then she said back to me, she's like, are your grandparents diabetic? And I said, I have no idea. My husband called up my parents, and sure enough, both sides have diabetes. And we told the ER physician, and she threw down her clipboard, and she's like, gall darn it, there you have it, double whammy. Diabetes skips a generation. You got hit from both sides. So I think I think it's partially, I think it's genetic. Do I think I made bad decisions back in the day? Of course I did make bad decisions. And I ignored the signs. I mean, here I am, a policy wonk, working, for a bunch of different nonprofits about health policy. I'm the one who's like ratting and railing about preventative health care. And I'm the one that ignored all the signs that were going on in my life. At first I thought I was getting these really almost gruesome stomach aches. And I thought it was like I was drinking too much diet soda. So I eliminated Diet Coke from my life. Then I eliminated red meat, because every single time I thought I had red meat, I thought I got sick. Well, sure enough, I was eating 2 bites of the red meat and eating a bunch of sides when I went out to dinner with my husband. Well, those sides were full of sugar. It's the potatoes, it's the beans, it's the corn. So no wonder I was getting sick. And they say that they can trace back diabetes for about 15 years in your medical history. So they can see that for sure I've been diabetic for about 15 years. And then basically I just went over the cliff in August. I literally was on my birthday. I went over the cliff and, I got very sick and then changed my life around.
well, I don't have the issue with diabetes. My blood sugar, in fact, I just had it done a couple of days ago. It was perfectly fine. My glucose, I think, fasting glucose was low 100s, 110, 115.
That's good.
Something like that.
I strive to be 100.
But the problem for me is weight. I am overweight, and I have tried all the diets. When you said that you eat 20 carbs a day, I've tried that one, and I can't do it. There's just no way.
Unfortunately, and I this is like the number one question I get all the time is, don't you miss a candy bar? Don't you miss a bag of Cheetos? Don't you miss blah, blah, blah? Don't you miss that real life slice of pizza? And my answer back is, if it's a choice between eating a slice of pizza or having a candy bar or having my eyesight, guess what, Douglas? I'm going to pick every single time. It's the eyesight. It was the biggest scare of my life, right? So for me, it's not a diet anymore. It's the way of my lifestyle. It has to be this way. I mean, because if I eat that sugar, and I can tell if for some reason I get a slip up of some sugar, maybe it's some vegetable oil, because vegetable oil is full of carbohydrates, it's full of sugar, or if flour materializes and sugarizes, then I'm going to get a little bit of too much sugar in my diet. I can tell my eyesight gets a little blurry. Last week, I really actually struggled quite a bit during the week. I could tell that my numbers were going up. So I have to be very cautious still.
So you're not on insulin or any kind of medication then?
I refuse to be from the get-go. I was told by my physician, he kind of laughed me off. He said, you really, because of your numbers, you should go on insulin immediately. And I said, I'm not doing that to myself, because he basically told me if I didn't change my lifestyle, he predicted I have 4 to 5 years left to live. If I went on insulin, he said, you're gonna knock off your life about 5 years. Well, I'm pretty young still. I'm a whippersnapper. I still have a lot to get done. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to let this control me. And at first I fought it tooth and nail. I'm not kidding you. I was mad. I was frustrated. I felt a tremendous sense of guilt because if you Google diabetes, I can tell you what you first find out. The very first thing that you read about is, oh, it's all about weight loss. It's all about weight. Well, that's a bunch of baloney in my mind because it's genetic. It's where you can have very thin people who are diabetic. At the same time, you can have people that are obese that are diabetic, right? So, you just have to really watch your diet, watch your fitness level. It's that preventative health care. Did I screw up by not going to the doctor? Probably so, but that's in the past, and I'm definitely a forward thinker.
This is type 1 diabetes, right?
No, well, that's a debatable question. I was diagnosed as an adult. So when you diagnose as an adult, it's type 2. But because my body reacted so fast to the no insulin, no medicine, the change of the diet, and the diet really controlling it, they're thinking that I was possibly type 1 as an older teen and just went undiagnosed. And now I just have to really control it by diet. But that's a medical question up for great debate because you'll never be able to prove that. And my mom and dad now basically can sit back and say, oh, we saw signs of this. I would drink a lot of water, almost like a very thirsty camel could never get enough water. And that's a thirst, that desperation for thirst is definitely a sign of diabetes. There's days I would just drink pitchers and pitchers of water and I couldn't stop it.
Okay, so those peanut butter bars that you just held up, you said, yeah. Now, there's no sugar in those and there's no flour?
There is flour in this one. So I always bake I give my teammates, as I like to call them, the no sugar baker team options. They can use a high almond protein flour, which is a less carb, or there's only 1 cup of all-purpose flour in the entire 9x12 pan. So if you try to do the serving size on these, it's very limited amount of a carbohydrate, which is, there's not sugar in flour. It just turns over to a sugar after it crystallizes. So it does take, tomorrow I won't be eating one, but today I will be. But my neighbors definitely will be eating these instead of you.
Okay, and the chocolate is
a sugar-free chocolate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's usually a dark chocolate is a sugar-free kind that you can find in the store. There's many popular brands. And then I use Swerve, which is a all-natural sweetener that you can find at all the popular stores. This is the one I prefer because I've tested them all out, and that's the only one that doesn't raise my blood sugar for myself or my body, and also it doesn't give that funky, odd taste to it. I do bake with a lot of extra vanilla and everything to kind of cover up, or at least I'm like mentally telling myself it's covering up some of the times that funky taste.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my question, was what were you using as sugar substitute?
And then the trick with this one is that peanut butter, and I learned this from the get-go, was the first time I tried to make something with peanut butter, I just used the popular jar, of peanut butter from the store and thought, oh, this is going to be, it's very low in carbohydrates. Very low in sugar. It's not going to be an issue for me. Well, I ended up getting severely sick after trying a cookie. So then we looked at the jar to read ingredients, which we've become accustomed to in our household, and figured out, no. It's loaded with sugar. So instead, now I use a deli-made peanut-only peanut butter. So it's definitely the creamed, old-fashioned way of making peanut butter is what I use in my recipes.
Oh, okay. Because, yeah, like you said about sugar substitutes, that funky aftertaste. There's
a few.
Yeah, it's a real turnoff for a lot of people. Splenda is not bad, I've found, but it's okay like in coffee.
I'm not a coffee drinker. Never have been. I think I'm the only Minnesotan that's a non-coffee drinker.
Okay. So it's called what again? Swerve?
Swerve. Swerve. It's new. It's out of Louisiana. It's very popular. And it's great for baking.
Where can you get it?
You can get it, oh my gosh, Walmart, Amazon, your local grocery store. It's right in the sugar aisle, right next to the other sweeteners. Okay. And it comes in kind of a powdered sugar form, a brown sugar form, or the granular sugar form. I do a lot of baking with the granular and the brown sugar, not too much with the powdered.
Okay, great. Well, Jayne, we have to wrap this up. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Absolutely. You just go to www.nosugarbaker.com. So we are coming out with our 2021, our first ever cookbook. It tells my story. It has over 100 recipes and over almost 138 different colorful pages. It's an 8x12 hardcover book. You can buy it now for $15.95, which will save you $8 and possibly save a friend's life. It makes a really great gift. And you can get that at www.nosugarbaker.com.
Great. Is that your book cover behind you?
It is. Can you see? Yes, it is. I feel like Vanna White. There we go.
Great. Thanks so much.